New this morning, children ran for their lives and hid under cars when gunfire broke out at a block party in North Houston. And when the shooting stopped, one man was dead on Chapman Street. 200 to 300 people were partying in the street at a car show when 3 people started shooting.
We did have several children that were out here when the shooting started that had to seek cover underneath vehicles and got separated from their families. So it wasn't just, this was a family function out here with children.
So far, police don't know why those 3 men started shooting. They're still looking for video and trying to speak with witnesses to find the gunman.
More unrest following the police shooting of a man in Atlanta. Protesters set fire to the Wendy's where that shooting took place and blocked highways. We now know the coroner listed the death as a homicide, saying Rayshard Brooks was shot twice in the back. ABC 13 reporter Jeff Ealing joins us now with the unbelievable body cam footage being seen everywhere. Jeff?
It is out there, Erica. The city of Atlanta did take swift action following the death of Rayshard Brooks. The officer has been fired. The police chief has resigned, and we're hearing from the widow of Brooks, who is stunned by all this.
Fires lit by protesters destroyed the Wendy's where the shooting happened. Police say they were called here after Rayshard Brooks was found asleep in his car in the drive-through lane. Police say this started with a sobriety check.
Will you take a preliminary breath test for me? Just yes or no.
I don't want to refuse anything.
Police say Brooks resisted arrest and that turned into a struggle. Officers say Brooks grabbed one of their tasers. Video posted on social media shows Brooks running from the officers and appearing to point the taser at them. State investigators say Officer Garrett Rolfe then fired 3 gunshots, 2 of them striking Brooks in the back, who later died from his injuries at the hospital. Rolfe has now been fired. The other officer is on administrative duty.
It's sad. It has me baffled and wondering when will it ever stop.
Tamika Miller says she was stunned by the news. The coroner now lists the cause of death as a homicide.
The police union in Atlanta says the mayor has, quote, a bias and that the officer was fired without due process. Reporting live, Jeff Ealing, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Tonight, ABC 13 will host a town hall forum on race relations and our faith community. ABC 13 reporter Courtney Fisher is live to tell us who is offering their insight on this panel. Courtney?
Good morning, Erica. The leaders tonight on this panel will be from all different faiths across our community. We'll be talking about race, racism, and of course, all these important discussions are happening right now in the context of what we're dealing with, the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so this town hall, it starts at 7 o'clock, moderated by our own Melanie Lawson. Colonel Daniel DiNardo will be participating along with pastors, rabbis. Bishop James Jixon will be there. It's been 3 weeks since the world saw George Floyd from the 3rd Ward, of course, killed in police custody. And our religious leaders continue marching and holding vigils in his name. Tonight's town hall will focus on racial inequality, police brutality, and social justice. Reverend Troy Treach has been talking to his community about how to make social changes. And here's the one thing that he says he's telling his congregation right now.
Depending on who we are, we will take something different away. If we are white people, we need to know that we need to do our work and we need to make changes. We need to see white supremacy and call it out. We need to see racism and become anti-racist.
You can make a difference right now, not by staying silent. That is the Reverend's message. Again, the town hall happening at 7 o'clock. We'll be streaming it live on ABC13.com, also on all our social media platforms and our apps as well. For now, reporting live downtown, Courtney Fisher, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Now to the latest on COVID-19. Texas set a new record over the weekend for the number of patients currently in the hospital with COVID-19. Over the past few days, it's been significantly higher compared to early April. This during the first weekend that restaurants in the state were allowed to open to 75% capacity. Cases now have many people wondering what your boss can legally do and not do when you return to work. ABC 13 reporter Charlie Edsity spoke with an attorney about your rights, and she joins us live with details. Charlie?
Hey, Tom, good morning to you. Well, it can get a little murky when it comes to issues of your health in the workplace, especially when your employer says you have to do something like take a COVID-19 test. So we reached out to an attorney. He gave us some of his insight into what your rights are as an employee as well as an employer. If you're going back to work and your boss says you need a mandatory COVID-19 test, you'll have to do it.
They are 100% within their rights to demand that these employees take tests.
Because the pandemic is a matter of public health, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission says employers can request you take a test. The only exceptions would have to be pretty extraordinary.
If somebody worked at a place where they would have contact with nobody.
What about refusing to take a test? That may lead to termination depending on your employer. So could the employee file a lawsuit?
Sure, you can always file a lawsuit. Doesn't mean you're going to win the lawsuit.
Employers must follow strict guidelines if they do choose to test.
Got to be job related, and it's got to be a business necessity.
The employer must follow CDC guidelines and ensure the tests are reliable and everyone is tested equally based on job function. Only testing those 65 and older could be grounds for age discrimination. And lastly,
you don't tell everyone, hey, Bob tested positive over in the accounting department. You absolutely don't do that, or you'll be subject to a lawsuit.
All right, and lastly, if your employer does make it mandatory to take a COVID-19 test, should they pay for it? Well, our expert says if you're already employed with them, the answer is yes. But if you're not quite hired on yet, that would still fall under your responsibilities. Charlie Edsity, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Charlie. And of course, we're trying to get you answers to all your questions surrounding the pandemic. At ABC13.com, we do have answers to commonly asked questions like filing for unemployment or how to deal with a landlord when you can't pay your rent. All right, here's Alita checking your weather forecast.
All right, when it comes to our weather this week, humidity. It's on the rise. No more the lower humidity that we felt from last week's cool front. In fact, no fronts in our forecast this week. Temperature readings will warm into the mid-90s, not ruling out a few cooling rain showers, maybe an isolated rumble of thunder, but they will be few and far between, favoring areas just to the north of I-10. Over the next 5 days, we've got a little bit of moisture working its way across southeast Texas, but it will be limited as a heat ridge settles in across the Lone Star State and will limit any sort of potential for some wet weather. Eventually, that heat ridge moves far enough to the east to make a comeback of some of that Gulf moisture for Father's Day weekend. Right now, we've got a 30% chance of a few showers, a few rumbles of thunder, so no washouts for Father's Day weekend, but indeed it is going to be hot and sticky for now and beyond. Back to you guys.
All right, and that's all the time we have. We hope you have a wonderful Monday.
Make sure you stay up to date with us online and through our apps. Have a good one.